Hi everybody, welcome back to Crafted by Norma. Today I'm just going to go through something that a friend gave me. I had Linda pop round to see me yesterday and brought me this this little envelope that she'd done. I think she'd found it on Pinterest, but I may be wrong. But I thought it was lovely. And what she's gone and done is use a page from a book and then superimposed by printing on the top of it. It just comes up with this sort of like index envelope. And then what she's gone and done is just put inside some envelopes, and it's made a little sort of file, and I think it's lovely. So I thought I'd have a go at making one. So last night I had a go, and I just used some photocopy paper that I copied on both sides, and just had a go. It's slightly different to Linda's. Linda put a button on hers. I've just gone and put a circle tie off, and I did basically the same idea. And thank you, Linda. Great idea. So obviously it's not my idea. It's probably not Linda's idea. She's seen it somewhere else, but I thought I'd like to share it because I'm going to be putting these into my laptop. I can't even say it. Laptop journal. That's it. So what I'm going to use is some coffee stain papers, the one that's got the little squares one, the sort of maths one, because I'm going to try and keep the colours, if I can, to these vintagey looking papers, and one brown envelope. So the first thing she said to me was that we just close off the envelope like so, and then we're going to chop that envelope down into 3. So the measurement on the envelope is, let's see, so that's just under 9 inches. So if I said just under 3 inches, we should get 3 that's of a similar size. So let's have a go. So there's 3 inches, slightly less. 1, 2, 3. There we go. So there's our 3 little inserts. And then the envelope, this one is a bit big, so I'm going to make it slightly smaller for this one. So as long as it takes the width of my envelopes with a little bit of a gap, so they are just under 4.5. So if I did perhaps 5.5, might be the ideal width. So I'm going to run with 5.5. So have I got a line? So that line there, whoops, where are we? 5.5. So that line there, if I follow that line and cut out that line, it should be relatively straight. So let's have a go. So there we have now a long piece of paper, which is 11 inches by 5.5 inches. And then what she's gone and done is, let's just open this up. So it's going to be that length by that length by that length turned over. That sounds right. So I'm going to just fold this down to about there, like so, which is approximately just under 3 inches, and I'm following that line. And then this one is going to come up to about so, like that. Now I'm just making sure that my envelopes that are cut fit in okay, which they do. So go along that line like that. Brilliant. Okay, so that's going to be the size of my envelope, so it's a bit more square. Yeah, which I'm quite happy with that. Now what I'm going to do now is just trim that down. So I need to find the halfway mark. So if that's 5.5, that would be, I think, around 2 3/4, if my maths is right, 2 1/2 and 1/4. So at 2 3/4, which is about there, I'm going to cut at an angle. Now I don't want to cut where the fold is there, I want to give myself a little bit of space. So I'm going to go from there to there and then follow that line down to that line there, and I'm just going to trim off that to a triangle. If you want to, you could shape it differently. It's entirely up to yourself. So that line there to the end of my triangle. Ooh. Like so. There we've got our envelope. So the next thing I did was to put a button or a fastener. So with these I'm going to use a piece of brown card that I've got spare somewhere. So I've got some brown card and I'm just going to cut off 2 circles. 1, 2, and then I'm going to cut 1 circle of my matching paper, like so. Now my circles are actually 1 1/4. I have ordered a 1-inch circle cut because I think that might be a bit better. And then I'm just going to glue these onto each other. Ooh, like so. It's going to glue onto that one, like that. And then that one's going to glue to that one. Whoops. Like so. Make sure it's all glued down. Press it all the way around. Now because I want to have some of my string attachment, I'm just going to put a little tiny bit of brown scrap card underneath to raise it up. You could put a foam pad if you wanted to, but I don't use foam pads. So I'm just going to try and use everything that can rot down on its own. So I'm just going to put a little tiny bit of glue on there like that, turn that over like so, and then try and stick that to the centre of my circle-ish, just like so. There we go. Oh, it's stuck to me. And then I'm going to go round with some distress ink. So I've got a pad here, just round the edges, like so. There we go. Okay. And then I'm going to make a hole in the centre. So I think the centre is going to be about there. So I'll just get my crocodile and I'm going to make a hole in the centre, like so. There we go. And then I'm going to get a brad. So this is my selection of little brads. And I think this time I'll try and use a sort of brass coloured one. So there's a little brass one. So I've got my brass one and I'm going to now decide where am I going to put this. So I think it's going to go about there. So again, we make a little mark and we can, now because that's quite long, I'm just going to use my big crop. Now if you haven't got one of these, it doesn't really make any difference because what you can do is just use a pokey tool. There we go. So we've made the hole there. We're going to put that there with our little brass thingy-me-jig just there. Turn it over and then just open those out like so. Now if you want to, you can put a little tiny piece of scrap paper, but there's no need because what we're going to do is with the 3 envelopes that we've got, one of those is going to be stuck to that side of it, so it's going to hide it. So with our 3 envelopes, we've got the 2 ends, and we've got a centre one, which is open at both ends, and an end one. Now what we're going to do with these is just glue them all together. So just in the centre there, just line them up. Oops, line them up. I wasn't supposed to do that. Line it up. So I'll wipe that now. As you see, I'm quite happy to show you my mistakes as well as my non-mistakes. So let's just get my cloth. And again, this was given to me by a friend last Christmas. And you know what? She's hand sewn it, and it has been so useful. It really has. So making sure that our tops are to the top, our openings, I'm just going to place that now sort of centre like so on there. Give it a little bit of pressure and then put a little tiny bit more glue. Just along there, like so. Now what you can do if you want to is you can run some stitching like I've done there, and Linda's just done stitching along the bottom, which is what I'm going to do with this one. And then that folds down there like so. I'm going to run some stitching just down there, so if you just hang on a second, I'll go and do that and I'll be back in a mo.